Hello,
Good evening,
everyone.
How are you all doing tonight?
How are you all doing? So lovely to see you. Give us a thumbs up, and that's great. That's great.
It's not lovely to see you, girl.
Our videos, but you can be heard, Eileen.
Thank you, thank you, thank
I
you.
was talking about myself.
Fine, very well, I'll accept that. So welcome everyone to Center Stage's On Cue chat show number, drumroll, 19. Can you believe that? Woohoo!
There we go.
This is getting to be such a regular event, and we are loving every moment of it. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Daniela Crankshaw. I am the co-founder and artistic director of Center Stage.
My name is Grant Crankshaw, and I'm the other co-founder of Center Stage.
And my partner in crime and everything else.
Welcome all this evening. Our guest tonight is a fellow Ola, a fellow thespian, and we're glad to call her now a very dear friend. We have been doing productions with her and with the gang, and we'll call them for now, since we arrived at the Merkaz Klita in Renana in 1997.
We have
repeating, we'll just have to mute everybody.
Okay. There we go. We can continue. These hiccups happen. It's all good.
Thanks, everybody. So we were at the Merkaz Klita in Renana in the middle of summer, July 1997, and we see a little flyer up on the table looking for people to audition for a play called Albert. So Danny went down to the payphone downstairs at the Merkaz Klita. She used her Bezic card, remember those? And she phoned and we found out where the auditions were. We auditioned in some room somewhere and Danny got in.
Yay!
Tonight is our way of paying tribute to all the other Anglo thespians out there doing their best to provide live English theatre entertainment. We've worked mostly with the local theatre groups like Sharon Players, you'll hear a bit more about tonight, TACT, Tel Aviv Community Theatre, which is now the Stage, and of course the Guild in Renana. There's many others whom we hope to work with in the future now that we have our own Center Stage to share with everyone. We want to thank everyone who we've met over the last 2 decades who've been a part of pushing things forward and maintaining our passion to perform. So I'd like to share a little memory with me about a production that was called Lysistrata. So somebody arranged for this show to go on stage in an amateur dramatics festival in Ireland and Scotland. Now, as it was...
Oh, and said that it was a joint
it was a joint production
and Sharon
between
Players
Sharon
production.
Players and TACT.
Yep.
So off we went to Scotland, but now I'd never done a traveling show before, so I didn't understand the logistics of moving a prop. So now just see this in your mind. A bunch of 14 Anglo-Israelis, cast and crew, walking into Ben Gurion Airport to board a flight to London, carrying a rather long aluminium and wire phallic-shaped object. It was the prop for the play. It was 2.5 meters tall, and it closely resembled a, how do we say?
You don't have to.
We don't have to say, okay. We affectionately called it Winking Willie. It had a light in, which was for dramatic effect. It had no effect on the LL security staff. They just put it in the security hold. It did, however, take up too much space in the little bus that we crossed Ireland and Scotland with. But Winking Willie winked his way through the tour. As for the play itself, it was very well received. I think we were in the Adjudicators Award.
Yep.
Many great memories. Next time we need a giant phallus for a traveling production, it's going to be inflatable. The magic of community theatre is the teams that are built up during productions. Once you've done a few things with a group of people, that team then becomes more of a family. The plan is the play and everyone gets on board. The first challenge is obviously scheduling times for actors who are also raising families and working. So rehearsals happen at night. We had no Zoom. We all had to get there. We all had to make the effort. And the plays went on. It didn't matter that rehearsals were in a damp bomb shelter. The acoustics were great. The stage manager had the job. He had to have a job in an office because you always needed someone to print all the scripts out and bring those for free. Okay. Many fond props were found on the streets of Renana, rubbish day. more like IKEA out there. And the plays would come together, some a little later than others. I remember nervously watching some dress rehearsals where the director would ask, "And you will know your lines by opening night, I assume." And the shows went on and people loved it. The funny thing is, it's not about the money. People do this for the love and the passion, the applause. It's addictive, I think. And because we all had so much fun and we found so much love with all those shows and during all those people that we met, we decided that we had to have our own place, a place we could all call home, and that's why we built it. Voila.
So what is really happening at Center Stage? Well, you'll be glad to know that we have now a tentative date for Endings and Beginnings, the live music show that we're sort of going full steam ahead with on Zoom. The date is, pencil this in, Sunday, the 28th of February at 7 p.m. with the hope that obviously we all come out of lockdown and we can come together in little cups again and put on this great show for you like we did previously with our duets show. So that's Sunday, 28th of February. We're also being very, very optimistic, I know, but that's just the way we roll. And we have booked a wonderful show called Sharon's Putting the Pieces Together by Evan Kent, a poignant musical story that draws the audience in with a remarkable mix of storytelling and song, nostalgia, humor, insight. It's really a beautiful, beautiful show. And that will be happening on the 14th and the 17th
and the 24th.
and 24th of March. And obviously the green passport regulations will apply. And we'll also have the option to view it via Zoom if you can't make it in person. So we're going to try this hybrid kind of situation.
Did any of you guys see the advert in the Jerusalem Post recently?
Let me share that with you in a second. Hang on a second. So and it's going to start again, isn't it? It is. There's shards. Okay. So you know what it's going to look like. There's the article in the Jerusalem Post. Woohoo.
It's all about how culture is surviving or not during the pandemic. And on that note, for those who can, please feel free to pay what you can using the link in the chat. As always, we're committed to keeping you involved, entertained, and connected.
Absolutely.
Stay up to date with all our events and follow us on Facebook and through our website, and sign up on our website to get the newsletter if you don't already do that.
Yay.
Thank you so much.
So now we are going to bring our very special guest in, and that is Mimi. Welcome, Mimi. Thank you so much for joining us. It's so lovely to have you now. Just unmute yourself before you, there we go, so we can all hear you.
Unmuted, okay.
Yay, there's Mimi. Now, Mimi, you've got to understand, she has been instrumental in community theater, in the community theater scene in Israel, and is herself an accomplished actress and director, and also a published author, and you work as a copywriter. Now, to be honest, Grant and I were trying to rack our brains of when the first time was that we met you. But I think that through all these years, it's become such a blur, become such friends that we couldn't pin it. Do you recall, Mimi, where we met, what the circumstances were?
I think it had to have been after you found that little flyer calling for actors for an audition when you came and auditioned for Albert. That was a Sharon Players production. It was the first production that Harold Kreutzer, a very talented actor and director himself as well, who is now living in Germany and working as a gynecologist.
Oh my, okay.
It was the first play that he had directed for us. He directed a couple of plays after that. And that's when we met at rehearsals for Albert. When I wasn't in a play, I was assistant directing or stage managing or producing or whatever. So
you
I was always
around. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And besides the fact that we've done several plays together, which has been amazing.
I was interested. You're a native New Yorker.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well,
a Brooklyn girl, in fact.
Say again?
A Brooklyn girl.
A Brooklyn
Brooklyn
girl.
Brooklyn girl.
Okay.
You got into acting at quite an early stage at school? Was it only in high school?
No, it was before that. Actually, my mother, and I have to say our mother, because my sister and her husband are watching from Florida.
Oh, hello, sister and husband from Florida.
Yes. I remember watching my mom learn her lines, and my mother performed in community theater in Brooklyn. And I think at the age of 10 was when I had my first leading role in a school play. My mother loved helping me learn my lines, and it just carried on from there.
But now, when you were in high school, you were actually in a play that toured the area, I'm sure, New York, right?
That's right, yes.
What play was that, and what was that experience like for you?
Well, it was a drama class that I was in for the last 2 years of high school. And this drama class put together what we call the children's theater. We put on the Pied Piper, in which I played Hans. And we put on Alice Through the Looking Glass, in which I played Alice. A dark-haired Alice, not a blonde Alice. And we, mostly on Saturdays, a bus picked us up from the high school and took us to schools throughout New York City where we performed for kids.
Wow.
I absolutely loved it. And that is my one claim to having performed off Broadway, because we did a production of Alice Through the Looking Glass in the Moreno Theater, which was an off-Broadway theater, for school teachers and principals to see it and then invite us to their school.
Yes,
oh, wow.
excellent.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's like, but I love the whole idea of like kids doing plays for kids. I think that's absolutely marvelous. I love that. So you made Aliyah in 1966.
That's right.
And I'm sure we're going to be asking you a question that everybody has asked you since that time. And the question is, why?
Okay. Well, because back in 1966, you didn't go with your boyfriend to the other side of the world to live with him.
Ah.
And my boyfriend and his family were making Aliyah. So I either had the option of saying, okay, bye, or getting married.
Wow.
So I was a child bride.
Wow.
So we married, and he actually went off to Israel with his family. I arranged the wedding in his absence and sent a permission slip for his parents to sign.
Wow,
then,
you weren't kidding when you said child bride. Okay.
No, and he came back 5 months later for the wedding. And a week after the wedding, we were off to Israel together.
Wow, quite the bohemian spirit you have there.
A precocious young child.
Oh well, that's okay. It's grew up into a beautiful woman, so.
You studied a BA and an MA degree in psychology at the Hebrew University?
Yes, I did.
Was that in Hebrew or English?
Well, some of the lectures were in English. Most was in Hebrew. However, I wrote all my papers and exams in English. So
wow.
That was good.
So why didn't you become a psychologist?
Well, Zoe, I had wanted to be an actress.
Uh-huh.
Last year of high school, I had a serious talk with myself. And I said to myself, Miriam, when I'm having a serious talk, I always call myself Miriam. I said to myself, Miriam, acting is not a very stable or reliable profession.
Yeah. Isn't that the stuff that parents are supposed to have with their kids?
Well, yes, whatever.
Yeah, okay.
So I decided to study psychology instead, which in a way is similar because an actor needs to understand another character's thoughts and
thought processes, right. and motivations.
So I studied psychology. When I finished studying, 2 children later. Actually, I finished after 1 child and took a break and went back and finished when the second child was a baby. And I had my thesis all ready to go, the topic, the advisor, and I suddenly said to myself, you know what? I've been studying for so many years. Let's get your feet wet a little bit and actually work in the field before you get down to writing your thesis. So I worked at a place called Hayechida L'Kidum Noar. It was kind of a municipality-run center for children at risk.
Yeah.
Right.
And I decided this is not really my thing. My baby would follow me to the door and cry when I left the house. And I thought to myself, I would rather stay home and have a healthy, happy baby than try and figure out the problems in some fucked up teenager.
But that's okay. But now hang on. So you say that, but now while you were studying
Yes.
and raising your family, you went and joined a band.
Yes.
Yes.
So even though I decided not to go for acting and to study psychology, being on stage is the single most consistent thread throughout my life. The whole time I was studying, my then child husband and I were part of a bluegrass band. And we performed on TV and radio and kibbutzim and all over the country for quite a few years.
Now, how was that? I mean, did you take your kids with you? That was quite an experience.
I only took the kids with me when they were in my belly. I played the double bass, in fact. I used to get applause just for walking on stage carrying it. And when I was pregnant, I could feel my whole belly move over to the other side when I started playing the bass that was leaning against my belly.
Wow.
Anyway.
Wow.
What was the question?
Just whether the kids came with you and how that whole experience is like.
We very happily, we had parents to leave them with, or a downstairs neighbor to leave them with, who would leave her door unlocked, and at 3 a.m, I tiptoe in and carry my kids upstairs.
Amazing. Yeah, we'll get to that, but we kind of experienced that ourselves, but we just didn't have the parents. But so he came along with us.
So the breakup of the Golden City String Band.
Ooh.
Was that a problem? Was that hard, or did it just sort of run its course? I know bands can be very complicated.
It was very complicated. We started out with us and an English couple. At some point, they decided that they weren't going to perform anymore, so we brought in another couple to complete the band. And what started the breakup of the group is that our agent was very happy to carry on. He seemed to be making money, and at the end of every month, we would owe him back the advance that he gave us the month before.
No.
So after about a year of this, we decided this is not right. We had his books investigated, and every cup of tea that he ever brought us backstage was listed in expenses. So,
that
was the end of performing with our agent.
Gotcha. So, so you moved from the band and you started to get involved with the Sharon Players. How did that come about?
You know what? I don't remember how I first heard about it. I had just moved to Ra'anana.
That's okay if you don't remember. You just got involved. But how did tell us about how the Sharon Players evolved? Because you're very immersed in the Sharon players? And
Yes, I have written a history of the Sharon players to keep track of it all. They actually started in 1981 as a book club. It was people from Herzliya, Ra'anana, Kfar Saba. They would meet and read books together. After a while, they decided to read plays together. And then they decided to read the play out loud to each other. And then they'd read the play out loud to an audience. And then they put it on stage and had staged play readings. And that was the point at which I became involved. And it was a play reading was not, it wasn't on for me. Not only did I memorize my lines, but I had to remember where to turn the page to pretend that I was reading it. One cannot act and read at the same time. So that was the last play that was a play reading evening.
Right.
And I convinced everyone to put the scripts down, and we went on from there.
it's amazing. That is amazing.
Our first plays were in a youth theater where offstage right was actually outdoors. So when we put on a play during the winter, you'd go off stage right, throw your coat on, wait till it was your cue, throw the coat off and come back on stage with a red runny nose.
We've had that when we perform in with all my sons at schools. They don't necessarily have a backstage or a room for us to sit. So we're quite often outside with our coats and scarves and everything, and just shivering, kind of like someone pressing their ear against the door that has to be kept closed and running in to try. And so it seems like everyone goes through that kind of experience.
Apparently.
Oh man, that is quite something. So
what is so important about community theatre? What keeps dragging us back to the stage?
Well, like me, there are a lot of people who would have loved to be actors, and they're really good at it.
Yeah.
And they could have been actors. They're talented enough to be actors, but they decided to do the right thing and get a steady, stable job. And so community theater gives these people a chance to do what they're talented at and what they love to do.
But I think it's more than that as well, isn't it? I mean, a community theater, it really is, like Grant was saying earlier, it becomes like a family. It's really about, like its name, community. So even if you're not acting, there's always something for you to do.
Absolutely right.
And you feel sort of connected to a group that has some sort of, I don't know, some meaning, some sort of connection.
And especially as an English language theater in Israel, it was a wonderful way for people just coming to Israel to get involved, to have a social group, to
exactly.
It was a wonderful vehicle for integration.
Right, but
I was very impressed to have read that since 1982, which is apparently the Sharon Players' inception, they've done 52 productions.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now,
amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's just what a record. So, play selection for a community theatre is a complicated affair. I'm proud to say that Danny here has chosen great plays that we've done at Centre Stage.
She has.
I read them and I was horrified. I thought it was a terrible idea, and of course I was wrong. But I thought we'd crossed all sorts of lines, but apparently not. People enjoy having their lines crossed. What is the process for community theatre? How do you select a play?
Well, for a while, we had some steady directors. Maxine Ray is a very talented woman, a wonderful director. And she would come up with a play. The director would say, I want to direct this in this play. Wonderful. So that's what we did most of the time.
Yeah.
When Maxine became less active and when we had to look for directors, it became more difficult. And when the director leaves it to the group, it becomes almost impossible because everybody's got a different opinion.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And the ones that we all love, we could never afford to build the set for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. But But I think the Sharon players also had, well, what we learned was they had a very creative way of building sets.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, just your first.
With the help of Mr. Grand Crankshaw very often.
Well, I was the only guy with a van and a toolbox.
You and Bernie.
I remember doing Charlie and the Chocolate Factory,
Yes.
which we performed at the Superior Auditorium, and
I did
Karen
make up
Tell,
for that one.
Karen Tell directed.
Yes.
And we found a massive cable roll that had been left by the Kwasaba municipality, and we turned that into the caterpillar's mushroom. I think it was part of that.
Right.
Very creative. I mean, and I think we learned that from that experience. We learned how to make things out of nothing, you know, and be creative with it, and you know, and it's no shame to do that even in professional theater.
Absolutely. I remember how impressed I was with a play I saw in New York before I made Aliyah. That's a very long time ago. They had one couch on the stage. It was their bus. It was a couch. It was all sorts of things, and it was wonderful. It worked. So yes, the more creative you can be with props, the better.
Absolutely, props and staging. I think.
Props and staging, yeah.
Yeah. So
I wanted to hear a bit more about your connection to ED, English Mathematics of Israel.
Well,
and especially about the collaboration with Tact and Lysistrata.
Right. Back in the 80s and 90s, there was a roof organization of all the English language community theaters in Israel, of which there were 10.
Wow.
Yes.
ED stood for English Amateur Drama in Israel.
Yes.
Once a year, we had a drama festival, and all the 10 community theaters would participate in the festival over a 3-day period with a one-act play. And we would also invite a member of the Little Theatre Guild in the UK to come to Israel and perform on one of those nights. So we had the Tower Theatre, we had, I don't remember the names of the others, but a few of the theaters come over. And that brings me to the an extravaganza that we did. It was
don't go there yet. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to ask you about that.
Okay.
No, it's all good. It's fine. I'm just going to. I was going to say that the way that I got introduced to Edie is, and you'll remember a little play called Mr. Wibble.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Baruch is clapping. He was your star performer.
He was the star performer and it was with Robin Rice, if I'm not
right.
And you helped me with the direction as well. And lo and behold, unbeknownst to sort of really out of the blue, we got the Best Director Award, which was kind of surreal, but a lot of fun. But also with Edie, which was nice. The whole we were telling people, and I'm going to share this with them to show them the whole Lysistrata with Edie. We would also go to festivals in Ireland, right?
Yes.
So I want to just share. This is how there's Winking Willie.
There's Winking Willie.
A big red Winking Willie with the cast of Lysistrata.
No, I've lost you.
You've lost me? Are you there, Mimi?
My window
we can hear you.
has closed. Why?
Yeah.
I can see you.
I can see you.
Oh, okay. I got you back.
All right. Did you guys see Winking Willie? Give us a thumbs up. You saw him. You can imagine the kind of you can imagine the kind of comments that we had lugging that thing around. But so Lysistrata was actually, was it the first time that Tact and the Sharon players actually worked together for this festival in Ireland?
I think it was. There was another play, Il Fornicazione, which Maxine Ray directed, which was a joint Tact Sharon Players production, but I think that was after. I think Lysistrata was the first.
Right. And with that, we went to Ireland and Scotland. What an and now going back to your children, Jared at that time, that's our son, was, I think he was five.
Yeah.
And both Grant and I were in the show, and we had no one to, we had no parents, no family, nothing.
No babysitters.
No babysitters. So he had to come with us. And had, yes,
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So he had quite an experience at the age of 5 traveling to Scotland and Ireland. He loved the bagpipe. He'll never forget the bagpipes.
Nice.
So that was good. So now you had a bit of a kind of a lull with the Sharon players, and then you came back in 2013.
Right.
With Calendar Girls.
Right.
Yes.
Now, Grant has a question. Grant has a real serious question.
Oh,
you do?
Well, during Calendar Girls, we saw a lot more of the cast than we were expecting on the stage. And I always wondered.
But less than you might have hoped.
I'm going to show them a picture. Hold on a second.
Let's show them a picture.
Let's show them. So
I know what we're talking
in all
about.
the glory. There we go.
Whoops.
This is the cast of Calendar Girls.
It's okay. It's obviously when I'm showing it, you're losing it, but don't worry, Mimi.
Maybe it's a good thing that you didn't see that one, Mimi. So, we're back.
Yeah, no, I thought.
So was there, how was it?
Pre-production, was there any discussion that this might be a little too risque for Renana?
That came up a little bit and was quickly squelched. By chance, I was looking at plays on French's, Samuel French.
French, yes.
And I just saw that Calendar Girls is now available for amateur production.
Wow.
And so I thought, well, that's it. Sharon Players is making a comeback. We have to do that. So, and I just started spreading the word, whispering in key people's ears. Calendar Girls, are you in? So, yeah, it was, it took a lot of ingenuity and creativity figuring out how to do it so that nothing showed that we didn't want to show.
The blocking was impeccable.
And
Absolutely.
yeah,
That must have been really fun to do. Now, why
was great fun.
why was there a lull for the Sharon Players? What was that all about?
well, for one thing, we've always been a bit shorthanded. And when one finishes a production, you've got just a few people who are doing multiple jobs, and they can't think about doing it again for another year or more.
Yes.
And then starts the problem of what play to do, and then agreeing on it and finding a director and all this. During the lull, we weren't totally inactive. We had some very, very interesting and enjoyable workshops. We had a clowning workshop. We had workshops with Abi Hadash, all sorts of interesting people.
Yeah, it's. I wanted to sort of mention that the Sharon Players wasn't just about putting on these productions, although they were amazing and there were so many of them, but you were involved in, they were doing so much more than just productions, and this is where sort of the community involvement came in.
Yeah.
So what other activities were you involved in?
We had play reading evenings. We also had sort of parties, like I remember we had a Purim party with games of giving groups of people strange props that they had to use to tell a certain story.
Involuntary improv.
Something like that, yeah.
Now, it's interesting that Linda mentions here that was not the only production where clothes weren't always worn. So, Linda, I'd be interested to find out which other productions you had.
Well, Linda was actually the only one who had to be a bit risque in the production of Sitting Pretty. She played the model who posed in the nude. And she looked like she was posing in the nude, but the audience never saw what they shouldn't see.
Oh, that's way to go, Linda. Very brave,
Yeah.
very brave. I love it. Okay. So,
We're not going to bore everybody by reading off a list of all the productions that you've been involved
No.
in. So after being involved in so many shows,
Yeah.
do you prefer to act or direct? Okay, what's your favorite role on the stage and the favorite role off stage?
well, let's get deep.
Okay, the
directing.
problem is that I prefer to act, but I try to direct even when I'm not the director. So,
oh, that's annoying, Mimi. That is so annoying.
I know. No, but usually it's been helpful. Directing is such a huge responsibility.
Yeah.
And the last month before Curtain Up, I remember feeling like I'm lying 3 inches above the bed when I go to sleep at night, with all the things going through my head of what else has to be done.
Right.
Yes.
And it's totally exhausting.
Yes.
But it's rewarding to see the end product coming to life.
Absolutely. I love directing. If I had a staff where I didn't have to also do the set design and arrange the props and et cetera, then I'd probably enjoy directing more.
I get you.
Yeah.
I get you.
Yeah, but I also love acting. What was my favorite role?
Yeah, what was maybe it's sort of like what was your favorite play that you worked on and why, whether it's as a director or as an actor?
I think I've most enjoyed doing Neil Simon comedies. I enjoy doing comedy.
Right.
We did Plaza Suite. We did Last of the Red Hot Lovers. We did The Odd Couple female version.
Right.
And I loved doing those. Alan Ayckbourn's Bedroom Farce, another comedy that Daniela knows well, that we've been together.
Yeah.
I enjoyed doing that. On the other hand,
why is it comedies that you're drawn to?
One doesn't actually have to be funny to make the audience laugh. The person in a comedy is taking everything very seriously. Right. And that's what's funny to the audience. And it feels good to make people laugh. And I don't know, I enjoy doing it.
Okay. So what was the most challenging? So you kind of answered it maybe, but I want to say, what is the most challenging thing about sort of being involved with the Sharon players?
If you are so inclined, you can get to experience every aspect of theater. You get to understand what happens behind stage and
marketing,
the props, the costumes, the marketing, the programs, everything involved in putting on a production. Right. And putting all of that together is very challenging.
I think you laid us a very good fertile ground for us to when we, for opening center stage, because yes, we'd been acting in South Africa before and had all that experience, but coming here and really doing community theater, which allowed us, before we were just main actors on stage, but being involved in community theater, we really learned, the whole business in a sort of live kind of environment, not at drama school, at university, kind of having everything done for you. So it's a very fertile ground to learn exactly what goes into a production.
And it was also satisfying for me to feel like I was helping give a theater experience to all sorts of people who otherwise wouldn't have had it.
Right.
Yes.
So tell us what is the now you can tell us about that world premiere that you had with Happy
okay.
Families, because I think that these are kind of milestones, and I'd like for you to touch on 3 of them.
Okay.
I want you to discuss sort of Happy Families. I want you to discuss Arms and the Man and Midsummer Night's Dream. So start off with Happy Families.
Okay. The Little Theatre Guild, which is the roof organization of all the community theatres in the UK, they had a special event, campaign, whatever, together with British Telecom, I think it was. They hired a playwright, John Godber, to write a play specifically for the community theatres, and all the community theatres would premiere this play on the same night.
Wow.
Somehow, Sharon Players became the only overseas theater company member of the Little Theatre Guild of the UK.
Amazing.
And we went to a workshop in London where John Godber had a play reading of the play that he'd written. So we got to discuss it with the director. And then we went home and worked on the play. It was a very difficult play to direct. I think I read it at least 10 times before I started to see in my head what I was doing with it, because there are lots of actors on stage and very little direction, very little stage direction. So, it was all tabula rasa. So we actually produced this play and premiered it on the same night as all the plays throughout the UK.
Wow.
So that was something special.
Absolutely. And now Arms and the Man was special for a different
Yes.
reason, very different.
Yes, Arms and the Man was performed hours before the first missiles fell on Israel from Iraq in the Gulf War. The week leading up to the outbreak of aggressions, most people were staying home, staying close to home. Everybody had their gas mask. The theater phoned up numerous times. They didn't really want to go out that night. They kept phoning up and saying, "Are you sure you don't want to cancel this performance? Are you sure you want to go ahead with it?" And we said, "Yes, we're going ahead with it." We had 100 brave souls in the audience.
Amazing.
A couple of ambassadors even, I think the Australian ambassador, I don't remember who else. And it's just a very strange fluke that it was Arms and the Man that we performed on the night of the outbreak of the Gulf War.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And finally, just give us a bit of background on Midsummer Night's Dream.
Okay, Midsummer Night's Dream was an insane extravaganza. It was very bravely directed by Maxine Ray. We put together, it was a joint production with the Ra'anana municipality. We included in our production the Ra'anana Hebrew language drama group, the Ra'anana dance group, the Ra'anana children's choir.
Wow.
The Hebrew language group, they played the mechanics and they spoke Hebrew, and everyone else in the play spoke English. And when Bottom spoke to Titania, he spoke in Hebrew and she spoke in English.
Wow.
And it worked beautifully. She says, "I don't understand what he's saying, but I love the sound of it." It just worked beautifully. We had amazing set design from Beverly Gluckman and Gail Summers. We had amazing costumes, dances, choirs. It was a fabulous production.
Was that up at
I remember being backstage with Linda, and I was stage managing together with Baruch. And because we had so many children on stage from the children's choir and playing the fairies, one of my jobs was to stand backstage by the entrance to the stage with my hand out, waiting for them to deposit their chewing gum before they went on stage.
Ew, okay.
Yes.
So now, I mean, again, our time always seems to run away from us, and I love it because I get so immersed and enjoy these interviews so much, or these chat shows. So I'm just going to, before we go on to our 10 questions, which normally end the chat show, I want to ask you, what is the direction, what is the move that the Sharon Players is making?
Well, after our last production, we decided that the rising price of the theaters and professional sound and lights is becoming prohibitive. We had heard that this wonderful, unusual couple were producing their own bricks and mortar theater for English theater. And it is a beautiful, intimate, small theater, which would not require sound. And so we thought, why don't we wait till their theater is finished and see if we can't perform in their theater? And hoping that that could become our new home. Yep. And then, very happily, you had an idea that...
Yes, that the Sharon Players become the community theatre arm of Centre Stage. So that not only would we be providing, top quality professional productions, but that we would, keep the community going and give everyone the opportunity to be involved in the theatre. And as such, the Sharon Players, besides the historic kind of connection that we have to it, and our love for the Sharon Players, we decided that we needed a community theatre arm, and very happily the Sharon Players saw that as an opportunity, as did we. And so we will be coming together.
Absolutely.
With I'm not sure yet how we're going to call it or what, but it's going to be the Centre Stage Community Theatre Arm, or whatever it might be, somehow keeping the Sharon Players somewhere in there involved. And it'll be totally separate from the offerings that we offer at Centre Stage, but it will be part of the community, which is
and we are very happy to come under your broad and talented and active wings and to share in your wonderful home, your theater home.
I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
As are we.
No more rehearsing in damp basements.
Well,
we have toilets and heaters.
So now we've come to that section of the interview where we ask the 10 questions, which are kind of based on the Bernard Pivot, Marcel Proust kind of questionnaire. Different questions because James Lipton also does that in the Actor Studio. So these are different questions, but it's kind of just the first thing that comes into your mind. Very short answers. We don't expect you to really sort of, explain anything. Just give us what comes. You've been in improv before. You know how this works. Just give us your honest answers. So go ahead.
Okay, question number 1, Mimi. What is your idea of perfect happiness?
An orgasm.
I love that. That's great. Great.
You said the first thing that came into my mind.
I love it. That's good. You go. What is your least favorite word?
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
All right.
Third question. Which person do you most admire?
Living or dead?
Meryl Streep.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I can get into that. So do I need to ask? I should ask you, what is your favorite movie of all time?
Gone with the Wind.
Okay.
On what occasions do you lie?
And don't say during orgasm.
I'm afraid I can't tell you that. I never lie.
You never lie. Okay. So what natural gift, other than the gifts that you have, would you like
But
to?
can I go back?
Yes.
If a policeman stops me and I'm not wearing my glasses, I did consider telling him I have contact lenses.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right. But how would you see if it's a policeman? Could you, I mean, you see fine in that kind of.
I see well enough to drive without my glasses, but I won't, I promise.
Okay. So what natural gift, other than what you have, would you like to possess?
I would like to be able to sing beautifully.
Oh, you sing though, Mimi. Come on.
I have sung in a string band, country music, in harmony with 3-4 other people, and that's fine. I am not the caliber of a Daniela Crankshaw, and I'm not the caliber of a solo singer. And so.
All right.
What is your most treasured possession?
My eyes.
Okay.
All right then. Well, don't go giving them away now. Which word or phrase do you most overuse?
What?
La mama? Ma? Okay, what? I love that. You've become too Israeli with that.
What do you most value in your friends?
Honesty.
Honesty.
I think those are kind of like the qualities that most people answer. Honesty, loyalty.
Yeah.
I think that's what we all look for in people, not just friends, but yeah, especially in friends. Last question, Mimi. Are you ready? Brace yourself.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
If you were to, God forbid, die and come back as a person,
If I were
to die, God forbid,
yes.
and come back as a person or a thing, who or what would it be?
Oh dear, that's very interesting. I had a strange, interesting thought. I would come back as my mother and help her live differently.
Wow, that's interesting.
Wow. Excellent.
That's interesting.
Good answer.
Oh, look,
Answer.
your sister and brother-in-law going, yes, that's a good one, yes. So they get it. They really get it. Well, that's it. We've come to the end of our hour together, guys. It's been absolutely magnificent. I hope you have enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
Mimi, thank you so much for giving us of your time and
Thank you so much for inviting me.
And I hope you guys out there, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some nice insights. And thank you again for joining us as you do every week. We really, really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you next week. And hopefully soon, with green passports, we'll be able to open our doors and come through to the theater and see live shows.
So this won't be a backdrop, it'll actually be real.
Yes, this is our theater for those of you who don't know. This is where we'll be, hopefully very, very soon. So thank you all.
Thanks all for joining us.
Stay safe, stay healthy, and much love to you all. Thank you all. Goodbye.
Good night. Thanks, Mimi.